Rebooting a series is a commonplace practice these days, no matter the platform. Everything from a beloved sitcom to a gritty, limited series from ages ago gets a reboot these days, as it seems that nostalgia is the only way to guarantee viewership. This is why I was very nervous, excited, and cautious all at once when it was announced that Phineas and Ferb would be getting a revival as well. The show had a clean-cut series finale back in 2015, and did have a special movie that released on Disney Plus 5 years later, during the summer of 2020. And now, since the announcement, I've been asking, is there still life in this series? Will it be entertaining? And more importantly, will it be good? And after finally watching Season 5, I am happy to report with the answer that, yes it is. Season 5 of Phineas and Ferb opens up with a half-hour special taking place on the very first day of summer, with a song about all the new and exciting things they get to do this summer based on how exciting the last one was, winking to the audience from the get-go that they've got a lot to live up to. Even for the first 6 episodes, the intro is adjusted so that Bowling for Soup sings there's another 104 days of summer vacation. It's not super clean, it doesn't really go in with the rhythm well, so I don't think that's why they kept it, but that intro song is just still so iconic. And moving with the idea of being self-aware, it's clear from the first episode that the writers are aware of what things fans are worried about, or repeating themselves, becoming stale. Where it does begin to feel formulaic, offers plenty of twists and turns, and like really surprisingly subverts expectations. I didn't think I would be like taken aback by a new Phineas and Ferb episode of all things. For instance, there's a cliffhanger in the first episode, midway points. Normally these episodes are 2 11-minute adventures kind of stitched together that don't connect, but this one being half-hour special, where that one's about to end, is where it takes this big turn. Like the resolution of the average Phineas and Ferb episode, the boys' innator is on full display, and Candace is dragging Mom along to see it and prove that they made something dangerous and bust them. And like normal, their Phineas and Ferb invention is placed in the foreground, or far background, sorry, perspective, and Doofenshmirtz's innator zaps it and it disappears. But this time it's placed in the same way. Candace is bringing up Mom, but Mom gets zapped with the innator, and you're kind of like, they can do that? They're allowed to do that? But it's not just musical guest stars that lend their voices, it's just actors as well. This season has one in Alan Cumming. He plays the Haberdasher. I keep saying Haberdasher instead of Haberdasher. Roll with it, okay? He plays the haberdasher for the Auca agents, and is the maker of all their hats, which gives them their tools and abilities. And there's a really fun sequence in there, not only just his song of saying I have a hat for that, of Perry putting on all these different hats, and he has to fight a mothified Doofenshmirtz. So there's still some weird kooky antics, but it's just cool seeing the idea of like, oh, what would Perry look like with all these hats, before of course going back to the classic fedora. It's just cute. It's just a really fun idea, and I like the idea that it's like, oh yeah, it would make sense that Auca has like a set guy who makes these hats, and so it's cool getting a glimpse into this other side of that world of not only just Danville but Perry's life in that kind of separate, mostly separate cast of characters. Probably my favorite episode of this season, and a standout to the series as a whole now, is Tropey McTropeface, which is a ridiculous name with a ridiculous episode premise. Basically, the boys build a giant zoetrope, which is that thing with the moving images, and once you spin around and it starts like moving, there's usually a guy walking. They make one of those, and at first you're like, oh, okay, that's a neat invention, like, you know, kind of like the Aglet episode when it's like, oh, nobody knows what that thing's called, so now they've given it a name. And without even trying, they kind of end up giving it a personality. Like, a majority of the episode is just the escapades of this loose giant zoetrope. He wanders around the city, rolls around stopping crimes, helping people, falling in love. At one point he even gets this full-fledged like theme, which is a ballad performed by Michael Bublé. Like, they say Michael Bublé and then they just actually animate Michael Bublé singing about the zoetrope. You gotta look it up, it's great. I actually had to rewind it because I was in such disbelief that this is what I was watching, but I loved it. I love that they were like, yeah, 100 some episodes in, giant zoetrope main character, and I was like, yes, this is what I want to see out of the series. It reminded me of the episode of Adventure Time that was all about Jake's tail, and just like a non-speaking character with so much life and personality. Like just such a cool idea and so funny all at once. So great episode. Shout out Tropey McTropeface. The other big guest star this season is the one and only John Stamos, who gets to voice Meep in the long-awaited Chronicles of Meep episode 42, Meet Me in St. Louis. And this is the other half-hour special as well, and I love this one. Every Meep episode has been so good. I loved the Meep episodes when I was a kid. They're so funny. They get everyone involved. The whole thing with Balloony, Mitch as a villain is just such a slimy guy, but he's so funny at the same time. And they even introduce new characters from space with Meep. Calling back to the meta humor, this episode points out how they never intended to make a second one, and they never intended to make this third one, so they just kind of wrote it around the various shots out of context that were played at the end, like a teaser for this episode we're watching now, back when they made the second episode. Really hope that made sense. Long story short, they set up this fake episode, then they made it real. Make sense? Cool. So with that idea, they have a little counter that pops up every time they use one of those shots that they made for the originally fake trailer, and that was a great gag. Made me laugh every time, and just seeing what possible context they created out of it and seeing how they kind of weaved a story together through those. Obviously they didn't build a story around those ideas, but they're like, oh, we have to make sure that it makes sense when you see this, or oh, it's in a different setting or different tone than you expect due to the dramatic nature of some of those scenes without context. So part of it obviously is just a fun episode, but it was also just a fun exercise, I bet, for them. And as a writer, seeing that thought process of like, okay, how do we put this scene into context? How do we give reason for these characters to say this and it still makes sense? So that one, for a lot of reasons, was another standout for me this season. Only part of Meet Me in St. Louis I didn't really care for was the song. It was fine. It wasn't bad. It was just kind of there to serve a single purpose, and it did. There's a subplot about these aliens who go from planet to planet, wrecking everything in sight, and there are these really just nasty tourists, and so the song is that these kids make up one about, oh, it's this dance where you gotta sweep, you gotta clean it up, so that, you know, they clean up their mess. And it's fine. It's catchy enough. Like I said, it serves its purpose, but it's no Diggin' My Ride from Outer Space, which is all-timer in a very stacked list of great songs from Phineas and Ferb. So I also can't believe that this new season of Phineas and Ferb did more to acknowledge the dangers of rampant tourism than the new live-action Lilo and Stitch. Just thought that was a little weird. On the note of songs, Season 5 soundtrack isn't bad. Not every single one is a certified banger, as the kids say, but I love the range that this season had for the most part, from the earlier mentioned Zoetrope theme to the standard poppy song about whatever the kids are inventing and doing, to even a song about being Candace and what it's like to be Candace, sung by Buford while wearing a Candace suit. It got so weird. It got so weird, some of these episodes. And I loved that. I love that they're like, yeah, we're not playing it safe. We're really trying these weird things. We're making these bits into pieces of lore for the show, whole stories out of this thing. And that was really cool to see. And that's kind of the reason I, a grown man with facial hair, still watch Phineas and Ferb. It isn't just because I watched it as a kid and it's still good. It's because it never talked to me like one. Since the very first episode with the roller coaster, I knew this wasn't an average cartoon, and looking back I realize it's because it didn't treat itself as one. Yeah, there's songs or sight gags, dumb little jokes here and there, but it also is just a genuinely funny, entertaining show that is clean so the whole family can watch it, with more sophisticated humor than even the average adult animated series. I now have nieces who are the same age I was when the show first came out, which is crazy to consider. I'm really not going to think about that for too long, but it's cool that this show is still having new episodes that are just as good and have that same feel. And I'm happy knowing that not only can they now go watch Phineas and Ferb as it's on Disney Plus, but can watch new episodes the same time I do. Like, we can both like have the ability to discuss that, and that shows the quality of the storytelling and just how in general fun this show is. I know I kind of went off the rails at the end there, but basically I love Phineas and Ferb. Always have, always will. And if we keep getting new seasons like this one at whatever rate, however many episodes, there's no rush at all, I'm more than happy to sit down and watch them, since I know it'll be quality entertainment. I don't want this to become the next Simpsons or Family Guy, where it's just the show that exists because networks are scared to put anything else out. I want it to be, oh, this is a very long-running show that still has a lot of fun ideas. It's still fresh. And like I said, that was one of my biggest concerns going in, is because even the original creators, like, you know, Dan and Jeff, they were just like, we don't know what else to do with this. You know, it wasn't the thing of like, oh, we're getting canceled, oh, the network decides this is up. You know, Phineas and Ferb is by and large not just one of the most successful, but in my opinion, like one of the best Disney shows, you know. And so I think that's why there was a huge disconnect when it stopped airing, and why, especially in later years and during the pandemic, they're like, oh, let's try a movie. We've got an idea for an adventure, not enough for a full season, but let's do a special and see how that goes. And so I'm sure that was a really big part of what brought this back, and was also just kind of testing the waters if there was still interest, which of course there is. I mean, I think it was more for the execs to see, but people love Phineas and Ferb. Like, there's a reason the show is still in a lot of memes and still referenced and still references things, because it's current without timing itself. It's just so good. Thank you so much for watching. I know this one was in a weird space between review and rant, and it was kind of hard to categorize, being like the latest season of a show versus the whole series, but I don't know. Phineas and Ferb isn't the kind of typical like series, like limited, like set story. So I just figured this would be fun. I like Phineas and Ferb. I want to see how me talking about these lighter things, like when I did Wallace and Gromit, does view-wise, engagement, see how people react to it. But yeah, no, I love Phineas and Ferb, and I'm really glad the season was good. Let me know if you've seen the new season yet, or what's your favorite episode of the show, new or old. Comment below, let me know, and I'll see you next time. Same Zach time, same Zach channel. Good night, tri-state area.